Well, let's take a look at this picture because, as I said, despite all the nervousness that persists when it comes to the EU situation, whether or not we're going to see a resolution come this weekend, we've got the markets managing to pull into positive territory. What are you making of the kind of price action we're seeing today?
Well, I mean, there's definitely been a strong rotation over the last few days out of the cyclicals into the more defensive counters. You know, you've seen the likes of Richemont, you've seen the likes of Massmart, all the retailers. They've pushed up quite higher, whereas, you know, the Kumbas, the Xaros, etc., have been any sort of cyclical counter exposed to the commodity seems to be getting no joy at the moment. I think the market's very much adopted, like you said, a wait and see attitude to see what comes out over this weekend. I mean, obviously, the market's hoping for some kind of very strong stance between the Germans and French, but there's no silver bullet, so I think the markets are going to be sort of range bound for a while. The market has struggled time and time again, the top 40, to get to that 28,000 level. And personally, we don't think this is an environment to be taking risk on at the moment.
Absolutely. We're sitting at around about 27,500, so just below that 28,000 mark at this stage of the game. Let's hone in on some of the miners, because as I was saying earlier, we certainly had BHP, Billiton and Anglos in their trading update yesterday highlighting some caution with regards to price movement moving forward. We've got BHP, Billiton trading just over 1% to the good, and Anglos itself trading 0.17% higher, 283 Rand 49. Of course, for now, a lot of that support for demand coming through from China, and that keeping things at least a little bit resilient. Yeah,
I mean, the outlook from both miners, I mean, they met their production targets. Copper was a bit weaker on the Anglo side. But, looking forward, they're very positive on demand out of China. What they're obviously a bit more concerned about is the pricing at the moment, because commodity prices have been really punished over the last 2 months. They've fallen. I mean, copper's down almost 20%. Iron ore's fallen, the most in the last 3 months. So I think, from their point of view, so far there's been no real slowdown in demand. But their outlook is a lot less. You must remember China's biggest trading partner is Europe, and within Europe, Germany's main trading partners are within the Eurozone. So if they're going into recession, Germany will be forced to slow down, and obviously then demand from China will slow down too.
Quite a bit of interesting news coming through from UBS. It's named Anglo Gold a top pick amongst the South African precious metals, and saying that that's as a result of its healthy growth pipeline outside of South Africa. It's improving cash flow generation, lower positioning on the cost curve as well, and ability to deliver. What's your approach to the gold miners right now, given where that gold price is sitting? Yes, it's come off its highs, but at $1,600 an ounce, and with production costs sitting at around about that 1,000 level, you're still making a nice profit there.
Yeah, look, I mean, within the gold miners, we still prefer Gold Fields, but Anglo Gold is a great company, and you're right, it has a lot more diversification compared to the likes of Harmony. I mean, we can see, if you look at just what's happened between Billy's and Anglos over the last few days, whereas Billy's has managed to come back up, and Anglos is staying stuck at these levels. And the reason being that this Codelco story, this semi-nationalization of their Chilean assets means they get more skewed towards South Africa. I think at the moment, when there's still talks of nationalization and there's no clarity on regulatory policy, the foreigners, particularly the UK fund managers, are very negative on South Africa at the moment. So that's why I think Anglo Gold, from UBS's point of view, is a much better bet, because it has a lot more diversification. Mines on just about every continent. Gold Fields is a close second, and from our point of view, Harmony needs sort of $2,000 an ounce to make money.
Well, they're certainly, preferring South African gold to platinum equities right now, given that strong gold price underpin. But how stable an underpin are we looking at there in that gold price? Because lots of analysts out there saying that gold price has been fueled more so by hot money and speculative money than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, gold has no actual industrial use besides, a bit of jewelry and dentistry. So from our point of view, I mean, platinum at least has a structural underpin in the autocatalytic industry as well as jewelry. Gold is seen as a safe haven in times of crisis. It is seen as an alternative currency. So until we get a lot more clarity coming out of the EU, I think the underpinning gold will be there, and the uptrend seems to be intact. Although we've maintained that gold is sort of in a bubble for a while now, but it seems the long platinum short gold trade has not yielded great results over the last 3 to 6 months, which has been one of our bigger calls. Going forward, I mean, like I said, until you get proper clarity coming out of the EU, I think gold's going to continue to find that underpin.
Okay, well, let's change tack here and focus in on Vodacom. They're trading 0.2% to the downside. Of course, as I was saying a little earlier, we've had news come through that its JV partner in the DRC has filed papers to block the sale of its stake in the DRC operation. What have you made of that news flow?
Look, it's obviously not positive for Vodacom. At this point in time, they were looking to get rid. It's a loss-making operation, and they've stated, they've stated their intention to get rid of the business as it takes up, too much management attention. And although the Congo is a very high-growth market going forward, they believe that their property rights, etc., are not secure enough for them to operate in that environment. They're not willing to sink more capex. MTN seems to enjoy operating in that sort of environment, whereas Vodacom is looking to expand into more stable countries, if that's the right word. So I think it isn't great news for them. That being said, I mean, it makes up such a small amount. It's a loss-making business, but it makes up such a small amount of their revenue and income. And even if the business was sold, it's not going to have a huge dent on their. Do you know what I mean? If they actually do realize the sale, it's not going to be material in any event. So I think at this point in time, this is a really good entry level into Vodacom. They'll be putting out a statement soon. I think data is very much going into a bubble phase where the growth in data is going to be between 50 to 100% every year for the next few years as there's this explosion in tablets and smartphones starts picking up speed. So I think Vodacom, MTN to an extent, but Vodacom very much more so is very well positioned for that growth.